Next, a controversial topic will be presented that addresses human cruelty. Although humans are capable of doing great things, they are also capable of committing terrible and cruel acts. These acts may be deliberately planned and executed without remorse, demonstrating a rationalization of evil. Throughout history, various forms of punishment have been developed for these acts, including the death penalty. In this video, 6 of the most cruel death penalties ever used will be presented. The 6th form of the death penalty presented is known as the cement shoes. This method of execution was used by the American Mafia, in which the feet of the condemned were bound with cement. The victim was then thrown into the river or sea, prevented from resurfacing and consequently drowning. The sensation of drowning is extremely distressing and aggravated by the inability to breathe, making this method one of the most brutal forms of execution used by the American Mafia. The 5th form of execution is impalement, a torture that was favored by Prince Vlad, who inspired the legend of Count Dracula. Impalement involved inserting a sharpened wooden stake through the anus, vagina, or navel of the victim, tearing apart their internal organs and piercing the body completely. This torture is extremely brutal and can be shocking to many people even today. Additionally, there was the possibility of the victim suffering for hours before finally passing away. The 4th method, known as the Death Star, was so terrible that many convicts preferred to kill themselves rather than suffer this torture. Initially, the victims were tied upside down, with their limbs secured so that there was no chance of escape. This caused blood to accumulate in the head, keeping the person conscious. Next, the torturer or torturers would use a saw to cut the victim in half. Due to the buildup of blood in the head, the person would watch everything without fainting or quickly dying. The pain experienced by these individuals is unimaginable. The 3rd method, known as scaphism, is so cruel that the mind of the person who created it must be trapped in a terribly bad place, far beyond hell. Scaphism involved forcing the convict to drink milk with honey, and when diarrhea started, the person was smeared with honey and left outdoors, tightly bound. The person would completely defecate while insects gradually approached. If the insects did not complete the job, the decay of the flesh caused by the entire process would lead to death. This method was mainly used by the bloodthirsty rulers of the Sassanid Empire. Do you like the warm soup on cold days? I guess everyone does, right? But what if the soup was made of human flesh? Would your appetite be the same? If your answer was yes, please step away from the screen and seek urgent psychological help. After all, this was a torture method used in Madagascar and one of the most common ones. People were imprisoned with their feet directly dipped in boiling water. Death took a long time to arrive, unlike the excruciating pain of the torture. The condemned would remain in the water until they were cooked. The cruelest way to execute a person throughout history is known as hanging and also as composite, which makes complete sense. The first part is indeed hanging, a common practice for medieval standards. However, the composite part is formed by removing all of the person's limbs one by dragging their body through the streets using horses. Meanwhile, their body was hit by excrement and whatever else was in the way. The grand finale consisted of removing the guts and eyes, as well as cutting off the genital area. It seems like it had no end. Can you think of something worse? Each item is worse than the other. Do you agree? Each one of these methods proves even more the inherent cruelty of human beings. And we have reached the end of the video. But before you go, tell us, if you had to choose a way to die from the ones mentioned, which one would you choose? And if you have any suggestions for topics we can cover on this channel, feel free to leave them. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. I'll see you in the next video.